And
All right.
I'm
Is the recording
sharing the
going?
agenda on the screen.
All right. It is 8:05 and I guess we're calling this meeting to order.
Right. Oh, and you know what else I'm doing? Is you're watching me do this.
Yes.
Your next meeting is not Thursday, May 6th. It's Thursday, May 13th.
Oh dear.
It's all right.
I'm
I changed it on the e-blast, but I forgot to change it on the agenda itself. And that is because, of course, the governing board meeting is on Thursday, May 6th, the first Thursday of May. And you guys get the second. Anyway, it's not an earth-shattering issue. So just tell me when you don't need the agenda to stay up on the screen. And tell me who, is it Elizabeth or Dan who's running the meeting?
Yes, that's a good question. Elizabeth.
Dan.
I guess, I could run the meeting or you could run the meeting. We could virtually thumb wrestle for it.
It's just, Dan, if you're going to run it, I don't see how you can also do the minutes.
Well, that's a good point.
I would prefer Dan to run it because I suggested that Dan run it and he didn't then deny or demur. So
Okay.
I can take notes.
Well, I have a minutes document going
Okay.
and I can grant you access to it.
Great. In the chat?
Yeah, hang on.
Oh, well, you don't have to take me seriously when I said it'd be hard for you to chair and take minutes. I don't care. I'm just hearing the click, click, clack, click, clack. But let's not waste time on this as if it's an issue.
I would like to hear from Teresa. Say hi, welcome to the group, and I don't see you. So I wondered if this is your first meeting with us, and what brings you to us?
I was at the last meeting, Elizabeth.
Oh, awesome. And
I really don't care who takes notes or who leads the meeting, to be quite honest.
Okay. And how are you in environmental? What most interests you in environmentalism or sustainability?
Well, first of all, this is an open meeting, so I really can just attend just to listen to what you guys have to say.
Oh, yeah.
But I live in the avenues. I'm concerned about trees. I was at the last meeting because I wanted to make sure the trees were funded for the Jefferson Park corridor. And last time Laura talked about the butterfly situation, and I'm here to talk about that or listen.
Cool. And Elizabeth, Teresa's being not saying everything, but she's unopposed running for the area rep position for the avenues. So she's your neighbor. She lives.
Hey, right.
Elizabeth lives on 4th.
I might have walked by your house today because I walked up and down all the avenues, just getting some exercise.
I live on 8th Avenue.
Hey, beautiful street.
Okay. So Dan, you called the meeting to order. And again, I've got the screen share up, but I don't need to keep it up because then I can't see anything else. All I can see on my end right now is the agenda. So just tell me when we've sort of taken a deep breath and adopted it, and I can unshare it.
Yes. Adopting the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Elizabeth, you're muted.
I so move.
Okay,
And I
do
will
we have a
second.
second?
Laura does.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Dan, aye.
Laura's aye.
Okay. Elizabeth?
Aye.
Okay.
So I'll have this up on my computer, but I'm just going to stop the share.
I'm just going to let Dan take notes because Dan is taking notes.
Cool. It's cool, it's cool, it's cool.
I don't have to do anything. I'm happy.
Well, would you like to lead, Elizabeth?
Oh, sure then. Okay, great. Then we're a little bit late, but we will hurry through. We are on to public comments and announcements. Does anyone have public comments or announcements? You could just yell out.
Nope.
Okay, that saved us some time. Now we have minutes from January 21st and 3/21. Laura, if you have those up, you could share them on your screen.
I don't, but if Dan
I
has
can
them, he
share.
can share them.
Hang on. Okay.
And just by the way, for committees, we don't have to do the rigmarole of approving minutes. We're just trying to take the minutes. So it's okay to go quickly, in other words.
Okay.
All right, so let me zoom in here so people can see it.
Okay.
The minutes from the 14th of January, Dan, Elizabeth, Laura, Marius, Anna, Librata, and Lizzie were in attendance. We talked about NCSA giving a presentation for a governing board meeting, but it wasn't settled.
Mhm.
We talked a lot about the street tree project. That was actually a working session, I think, where we went through the list and marked it up with Laura's recollections about funding and whatnot for each tree. And then we adjourned.
Sounds great.
So do we have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
Laura, did you just say we don't have to approve the
Well,
minutes?
it's up to you guys. I'm saying Department of Neighborhood Empowerment does not require it, but if you guys, this is your own committee procedure. So if you want to do the move, second,
I
approve,
would
is
like
fine.
to.
Okay.
I move that we accept the minutes. However, it's on the agenda, it says 1/21, and I thought you said that this was a different date.
Yeah.
This
It
is
says-
January 2021.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. 1/21 means 1/2021. So, okay, I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Okay, I second.
Right. And only the three of us have a vote, so I vote yes.
Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing now, if I can figure out how.
Yeah.
And get back to minutes. Okay. The
Are you going to share the March minutes?
March minutes are not available
Okay.
yet.
Great. All right, then we're just about on time, up to time. So we are having an update now on street tree maintenance program. So I think, Dan, you might be the best person to update because I think you had the most recent action.
Right. And I have just
Yeah.
the two little guys to update.
So I personally arranged with the president of Magyar House and my gardener to have the tree stump in front of it removed. So there's now 2 open tree spaces in front of Magyar House on Washington. And I also have offered to water those trees myself, since I'm already watering the garden across the street. So I can keep that up for at least a year.
Okay, nice.
And that's essentially my report, Laura.
Yeah. And I have, so one of the things that I would like us to get from KYCC or the city, whatever, is the form a person signs where they've made the commitment to doing that watering and maintenance. Because I have spoken to Surface, to Frank Casares, who's the owner, and he will sign it. And Dan, he'll pay your gardener to remove the stump that's in front of his business, because what he said happened is the tree died, the one we were trying to replace. The city came in and chopped it off and left the stump. So obviously the stump has to be removed. I asked him if any of his workers would do it, and he kind of had that look, and I said, or are you willing to pay 50 to 100 bucks for someone else? And he said yes. So offline, if you and I, we can figure out how to arrange that, but you said your guy would be happy to get some more money, right?
Great.
Yeah, but what we need, because I realize if what we're doing, given what KYCC said about the requirements, and it has to be 3 years and not just one, and we have X amount of money. So I'll just remind everyone that essentially for 25 trees, we need $25,000, but what we have is $7,000. But we don't need necessarily real money. We can have signed forms, and each form represents $1,000. Meaning if Frank at Surface will water and maintain the new tree after the stump is removed for 3 years or forever, he needs a form to sign, and then we need 24,000 instead of 25,000. Chris Carlson is speaking to an entity. I'm not going to identify it yet because we don't have an answer about getting, but that entity may donate several thousand, or maybe more than several thousand, to the total of 25. And I spoke to another property owner. We were just talking about trees in general, and he said, you know what, I would donate 3,000. So I'm hoping all of this becomes true. What I told Chris to tell the other entity, and what I told this one person I spoke to, is that the donation would be to KYCC. It cannot be to UNNC, obviously, but we'll have to figure out how that happens.
Right.
But the goal, we need to get to 25,000 or in lieu, meaning form. So where do we get that form for people to sign?
I don't trust the form because I think our neighborhoods are full of dead trees, for whom forms were filled out and completed.
Yeah, we still have to do it if we want to get any trees at all, because we have to have either forms or $25,000.
Laura, you may know the most about this form. Where does it come from, or can we just make
Well,
one?
KYCC, they mentioned it in the meeting we had.
Ah,
I mean, it's some form.
I missed that.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves now. And in fact, I would like.
We're not ahead of ourselves, Elizabeth.
We are. Let me stop. It's my meeting. that for our benefit and for Teresa's benefit, I would like to have a little bit of an overview, which is the last time we talked to KYCC, they were pro number of trees, and they had identified tree wells, but we needed to add a few more. Is that right? And Dan, after our last meeting, committed to sending them a new iteration of the document, right? That added some.
Yes.
Okay, and you did that. That happened.
Well, no. I mean, where we are right now is we can't give them a list of trees to do until we have picked the trees to do. And that is something that Laura has to do because she's the one who knows what is going on with funding.
Well,
because some of the funding may be tree specific.
But things can happen concurrently because they need to have some wells permitted. Am I right? She needed to have the city come by and approve the wells.
The specific, what I thought she was doing that. I thought she was doing that she had reduced the number to 23, actually. Dan has created 2 more.
And then you added that to the list? And then sent that back to, I thought I saw an email that said, I'm sorry that it's taken a little bit longer, but that email will be right to you. That was to KYCC.
Well, it's waiting right now for Laura to say which trees. I can't send them a
No,
list
when
until
you
I know
say-
what trees.
Not trees yet, wells. Laura,
It's
can you?
it's only the wells. I'm not saying it, I'm not specifying trees. You mean the wells? Okay. Okay, we're in a bit of a circle.
Can I ask a question? My hand reaction doesn't seem to be working. I just have a thumbs up and a clap.
Yeah,
Sure.
we don't see that.
So we're
Teresa,
talking,
just jump in.
oh, okay. We're talking about Washington Boulevard,
Yes. Pretty
only Washington Boulevard.
Washington and maybe Western, not Crunch. Let's really back up. KYC told us to not do Crenshaw because there's potentially Metro is doing.
Yes, I remember when you mentioned that the last meeting. Yes.
Right.
So, but right now we're just talking about
Mostly Washington.
wells on Washington up to Western.
No, mostly Washington, and then there's some possibilities on a few, just very few, on Western. For some reason, KYCC wasn't sure that the program with the city that gives the trees would give trees for 2 different wells that are both on Western across the street from each other, but adjacent to parking lots rather than adjacent to buildings. And for the life of me, I do not know the difference. I didn't even feel like asking, right? Because it's like, oh, there's another arcane rule. What our real limitation is right now, however, is if we don't have $25,000 or the in lieu, then we have to very, very, very quickly pivot and redefine this as maybe 12 new trees and 13 existing trees for the 13 for 1 year and the 12 for 3, meaning they can accept money and they can do a project to water existing trees. We had pivoted to change it to be all new trees, but then we have to have 25,000 identified. I will deal with them.
Let's stop for a second. Let's stop for a second. Teresa, did that answer your question?
Yes, a little bit. But Chris, when will we have information from Chris if her vendor will be able to provide the water?
No, she's not looking for a vendor to provide water. She's looking for a donation.
A donation for
Of
water?
dollars, not of water.
Pardon me?
Chris Carlson?
Of real money, not water.
Oh, which
Real
we
money.
would then get to, or it would go to KYCC to water.
It would essentially, what KYCC is going to have to do, because we will be requesting, and just for everybody's knowledge, we now have the dates. We have to make a check request no later than June 1 to pay KYCC our UNNC $7,000. We can't do it a week later. This is a up or down by essentially before the board meeting of June. So we don't want to give KYCC $7,000 for a project that a month later they say, hey, thank you for the gift. We can't do your project because you didn't end up with 25 or a pledge that is acceptable or the in lieu. So we're on that tight time frame. That's why Chris and I are asking people for money too, and we'll have to have KYCC do a set aside. I mean, that's simple. Any nonprofit can do that. People donate to a particular project. This is just a bookkeeping. It'd be, bookkeeping 1802. I mean, I'm making that up, but in their books, that money would have to be set aside for this project.
So
just as our $7,000 has to be set aside for that.
Is Chris Carlson spearheading a fundraising drive for the trees?
No, she is asking specific money. Elizabeth, actually, you had said you would do a GoFundMe or similar. So, but you aren't going to do it until we know if we have other sources of funds. But we're at that point where we have to figure it out. Yeah, we can't keep putting it off because UNNC cannot give KYCC $7,000 that just goes into some general fund and never ends up with trees here in our community.
Right, and I emailed Laura with, expressing my concern, and I think, Laura, you sent back an encouraging message saying that you were looking for some funding.
Well, I think the first person I asked said $3,000, and the first person Chris asked said, yeah, we'll probably give money, but I have to talk to our bosses. So it seems like it's not that hard to ask for money once you get over the ugh.
Okay, let's say
for money.
Let's say that the money is going to happen. Let's just say that because
Right.
we haven't started, and there's interest in having trees and having trees watered. So let's make sure we have the wells. Now, what do you need, Laura, to finalize the well choice?
Well,
We've
I just
got
need the list. We just need that final list. Okay, remember they gave us a complicated, we were looking at this at the meeting and it was hard to understand their notes in it, but it came down to there were only 23 wells on their list.
And
that's the list.
We find 2 more, and Dan did
find 2 more.
Yeah, 2 more in
Right.
front of the Magyar house, which I finally figured out where that was.
Yeah.
And then so now somebody has to send those 25
back to them.
So Dan, could you do that?
Yeah, because that's it. But
I still need to identify which of the trees on the list. The list is really big.
No, it's not
wells?
really big, Dan. If you read through the list, most of it was no, 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 no. It wasn't yes, 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 yes.
I thought it was.
Well, Laura, maybe you and I should sit down
Okay.
and talk about this offline. And then it sounds like you and I together could bat it out quickly.
Right, because I think they went through your list and there were a lot of no's. And we're trying to make a couple of the no's into yeses.
It wasn't all of our no's, their no's either, because there's a lot of construction that you were suggesting that the new people could take care of them.
No, they're on the Washington Boulevard. Once they eliminated Crenshaw, the construction is Crenshaw. And once they eliminated Crenshaw, so went my comments about developers because they're on Crenshaw.
Okay.
If I'm saying that right. So on Washington, there's only one other development, which is the Dada Academy, the Debbie Allen Dance Academy on Washington and Manhattan Place. And I have not emailed Norm Nixon yet. It's one tree well only. And it may be that they're required to put in their own tree anyway. That's the real question I have for Norm, which is if you are required to put in a tree, then you're required to water it. But if you're not required to put in a tree, we're happy to put in a tree, but will you water it? I mean, either way, I'm hoping he'll agree to water it, and that therefore that's $1,000 if we need to put in that tree. If we don't need to put in that tree, I mean, he may not have been ordered to do it because the tree was there when they were in building and safety plan check. The tree just recently was one of the several that the city chopped down because they had, maybe somebody crashed into it. I mean, it was literally there on the most recent Google Street View, which was like 8 months ago. The tree's still there in the photo. So it's gone now. So I need to email Norm Nixon. So that would be on me that I didn't email him yet. But I did, but back to my circle, I did talk to Frank at Surface. He's willing to pay to have the stump removed. And he is willing to sign any form that he needs to sign because he's willing to water and maintain the trees. He's already watering the other trees that are adjacent and attempting to maintain them. Although again, the city for some reason went through and weirdly trimmed them. Even though the city doesn't do tree trimming, they just did do it.
Oh my gosh. So KYCC would have a copy of those forms, right? That people have
That's
to,
what I think, because they brought it up.
okay. So on the list, we could say that
Yep.
somebody's gonna get the forms from KYCC.
Hmm?
Is someone gonna call or contact KYCC to get those forms?
I think you're the KYCC point of contact.
Liaison.
Put me down, put it in the minutes and I'll do it.
Okay.
So good. So we're on track then. You guys will get together. The main thing I'm worried about is getting those permits. And then
Yeah.
from there, we talk about tree choice, and then we find we point by point, when we have 25, let's go over each 25 and our tree choices. And then I loved your slideshow. And to me, it makes a lot of sense. It's just sort of emotionally accessible that we can say that a tree will go right there and it's in front of that building, and it sort of settles in my head in a way that abstract talk doesn't. So I see that
Great.
as being our next point, is to talk about all the 25 wells, identifying who would sign the sheet if we needed the sheet signed. And then a little bit on tree choice, right?
And well, again, Elizabeth, you guys I was only at the one meeting, you were at some others. Do we have a tree choice, or do we have to take whatever they give us?
There's, I think, limited choice. There's limited choice, but they'll know what size, what girth tree that would fit in any given place, because
Right.
they'll look and see, lines above and stuff. I just hope they don't put any crepe myrtles in.
They'll give us some choices, I think.
I agree.
And I'm sorry, did either one of you download and save what the thing that they prepared and we were looking at the meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got it.
Okay, because I don't have it. No, got it. So I remember all the no's, but I don't have a copy of it.
Yeah, I can give you a copy of that when we go
Okay.
over the list.
That's cool. So again, my big concern as the fiscal officer, or one of the fiscal officers for the neighborhood council, is once we give them $7,000, they only have a few months, three or 4 months, at which point they have to provide back to us and the city clerk and Dunn a report.
Yep.
So I don't want the report to say, thank you for the donation. We've used it quite well elsewhere, if you know what I mean.
No,
I want the report to say, we've started planting trees.
that's worst case scenario. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's avoid the worst case scenario. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I propose also then a meeting with you, me, Chris Carlson, Dan, if he's interested, Teresa, if she's interested, to talk about money, how we're going to roll out.
Yeah. So if Teresa's interested, then and it's Chris and me too, we have to have that meeting before Teresa takes her seat at the table July 1. But I think we should do it long before that anyway. But no more than 2 board members could be at that meeting.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I just think that's another subject. That's
Right.
another hour.
Right. And it doesn't have to be within this committee. And also either Steve Wallace or Eileen
Okay.
Amen, because they have the Harvard, and I forgot to remind everybody, Harvard Heights has some money as well. So,
Yeah,
I've
fantastic.
talked to Steve. They have some money set aside for this same thing.
And before we move on, I was on a call, a climate forum with Jimmy Gomez yesterday
Mhm.
and morning, and he talked at length about street trees and how he used to live in Sherman Oaks and it was so hot and they planted a bunch of trees and now it's gorgeous.
Well,
So I wonder if we could talk to the Congress member's office and see if there's any funding. Does that?
Yeah, Elizabeth, I think each one of us has to just take the initiative and ask people for money. I think that's the best thing. So I have committed as well to
You don't
talk to
see a
Council
problem?
District 10.
So we
And-
get money from the Congress member?
Well,
There's nothing
again,
wrong with that.
the language would be, we're putting together a project with KYCC. United Neighborhoods is a funder of $7,000. Harvard Heights, I will try and get that number. But again, how many trees on Washington?
Okay, what I heard, what I was plumbing for, Laura, was your steel trap mind to tell me that no, city projects cannot get congressional money, but I did not
Why
hear you
not?
say that. I don't know. I don't know the rules here. So I did not hear you say that. So next time, he said directly that street trees change a neighborhood and it's his congressional district. So great, I'll ask.
Remember that it's essentially UNNC, it's a public-private partnership, but it's UNNC and KYCC.
Right.
And but in the end, the money is at KYCC, and what I don't know is he allowed to, not personally, but can the office essentially donate or partner? I mean, whatever the language would be, but it's not with us because we can't take money.
But it's a project. Dan.
Right.
May I suggest that Laura be the point of contact for any donors we identify? So we find donors and we say, hey, if you want to donate money, Laura will tell you the details.
No.
Okay.
Nope. I don't necessarily do that. I think we should have a list of donors and that we should talk about, divvy up or.
And I would say it's a little complicated because who am I in speaking with them? Meaning, am I the current president of UNNC? Am I the land use chair? And is it a developer you ended up talking to and then they're going to be bringing a project to us 3 months from now? That's a conflict. So it's almost best if it's not me in the end, but that rather I refer them to Elizabeth or to Dan. I'm guessing, Elizabeth, you may have more experience with fundraising than Dan.
I have a little bit, and I'll love to develop it. And I actually think a bit of diplomacy. And the thing I would mostly say was, how awesome you are. Thank you so much.
Yes, but I don't ever want to be in a position of being like that, like the former council members who are now going to jail for asking for money for their personal projects, which were 501c3 nonprofits, but it was still, hey, make a donation to my baby,
Make the check
and
out.
then I'll vote for you. So I don't want to be in that position. In fact, the property owner who has offered the $3,000, I was going to turn him to you. You get so, and not the other way around. So, but I'm willing to talk to places like Metro and to the council office. I mean, those are the kinds of things where I'm not going to, there's no, it doesn't look, there's no perception issue.
Right, great. Get the form signed. Who has the form for the donation? Is that something that we'll decide at the meeting?
Okay, well, the sooner the better on that. That's a question for KYCC. They said, that's the in lieu. If at our meeting, they said we can get the form, however many we can get signed. And again, I just want to say.
Wait, those are two different issues. That's okay. So say KYCC, watering agreement form, and then donation check collected. Those are completely different things. And I did not offer to get the KYCC form signed. I did not offer that.
No, I'm offering to get them signed. I just don't have one.
Great. So then refer them to
forms. I'll get them signed.
So to KYCC.
I need the form.
It goes to, yes, thank you.
Elizabeth, you were going to get the form from KYCC. Is that true?
I'm going to ask. Yes, I can ask. Yes, we'll get the form. Yeah.
Because I think we're only talking about Surface and maybe Debbie Allen Dance Academy. I don't think there's any other business along this stretch that I trust, like you said, Elizabeth. but
Well-
maybe
We
one or
need
two.
money. We need
Well,
money.
no, actually, Dan, you'll have to sign,
Yeah, I'll have to sign.
right, for the Magyar.
What's your connection to Magyar, Dan?
I live near him.
And who are Magyar?
It's the Hungarian Cultural House.
And it has gatherings there?
Yep. Oh, hopefully not in COVID.
All right.
I don't know, but one more tree, two more trees, it's a good thing.
Yeah,
I'm not arguing about that. I just I've never seen.
Yeah, they're a house on the corner of Washington and whatever street, Dan will tell us what it is, on the northeast corner. And
Right.
they are weddings and events.
Wow.
And it's a Hungarian cultural, I mean, it's been there a long time. It's called the Magyar House.
Okay, moving on, shall we? I think we're
Yeah.
ready.
Let's move on.
Right.
Okay, so Lisa Hart has been in touch with me about wanting to give a presentation to South LA, to our UNNC members. So hopefully that the message would get relayed to South LA residents that there are cheap electric cars to be had. She asked me to help her get a presentation site or time. I went to Laura. Laura said there are two ways to do that. There's either 10, 15 minutes or 10 minutes as an agenda item, or half an hour in the beginning of the meeting between 6:30 and 7, and except with the caveat that it not be entirely for half an hour about EVs. I agreed, went back to Lisa, said, Lisa, can it be about more than EVs? She said, yes, absolutely. So I have a meeting with her where we're going to talk about what she will present for the half hour. And I thought at first it would be she/we, and I would like to provide her help, but I say yes too much. So I think I'm going to try to put this on Lisa more and suggest that she have a slideshow, and I'll support her however I can, but I can get overwhelmed pretty easily. Now I have a call with her tomorrow, and I'd like to discuss with her what are the best items for her to talk about. Dan knows a little bit about what the subjects that NCSA are. She sent me a little bit of a worrisome email that suggested she was going to talk about things that I didn't think were interesting to our constituency.
And excuse me, can someone tell me what that acronym is about? NC?
NCSA is
Yes.
the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance.
Okay, thanks.
So it's a group of neighborhood councils all over LA. I think there are like 40 in this alliance that are all committed to greening up, improving air quality, improving tree canopy, and they work sort of together so that they can be more effective.
So
Thank you.
Elizabeth, they've been involved in quite a few initiatives ranging from, tree replacement for sidewalk repair and the slow streets. I'm guessing they were involved in that effort.
Yep.
No, we do not need them to talk about either one of those things, really, especially not slow streets, because Janie's been on it and makes a lot of reports already.
Yeah,
But the 2-for-1, I mean, actually, it would be good to include tree replacement on sidewalk repair, because we've had a big issue just in the last week and a half with that.
okay.
So it's the sidewalk repair program is where the issue is. But what else do they do?
They work on an idling ban to improve air quality. That can be a bummer because lots of people don't want to worry about idling their cars, and it's hardly enforceable. They talk about, Dan is as active with making sure that new construction has enough or have enough electric car chargers, or the capacity Add electric chargers. Dan, take it away. What else is there?
Well, they're into transportation a lot, and they're into housing to the extent that it increases the sustainability of the city. They have their fingers in a lot of pies, and I think the EV thing really is they're the main thing that they can offer us, and they get into trees too, so they could probably talk about trees a little bit on sidewalk stuff.
Right, but I'm still sort of, if their main focus right now is electric cars, nothing wrong with that, nothing at all. And that's what they want to talk about. That's not, I mean, that should just be that I give environmental committee 10 minutes on the agenda, and that's for them, you know, just within the agenda, as opposed to, so what we do that first 30 minutes, that 6:30 to 7 slot, is before the meeting has been called to order. It's meant to be educational, interesting, a draw to people, and especially important since the board members tend to take a while to arrive. It's not good to just sit around. So we've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, where we try and have somebody doing a presentation before the official call to order, so that as we're trying to gain quorum, there's still something to do. So so one question would be, is a presentation from the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance enough of a draw for that 30 minutes? I have no problem giving them a presentation time within the agenda. I mean, everybody else has been demanding presentation times within the agenda.
Okay. So I actually think, and I'll bring this up to Lisa tomorrow, that there isn't great knowledge of what NCSA is.
Mhm.
Teresa's question about the acronym is exactly right on target. People don't know about it.
Mhm.
And it has more power the more people know about it.
Sure.
So I think we could spend 10-15 minutes explaining what NCSA is, who it's comprised of, and what it does. Dan?
I have a feeling that the most effective way to tell people about NCSA is to have NCSA come and do that 15-minute thing about electric cars beforehand. And that way they're bringing something of value rather than trying to explain who they are, right?
Okay. Well, then we can say that NCSA would define itself for 5 minutes instead of 15.
Well,
And
they have to introduce themselves.
right.
Who we are.
Yeah. And then as an entity, and
Mhm.
then talk about electric cars. I mean, what are you hearing, that there should be something else besides electric cars?
No, I'm asking a question. I'm not giving an answer, because I don't know enough about how popular, or I know how important it is that we switch to electric cars. And I feel like there's also a federal deadline or California deadline that the manufacturers must switch to electric cars.
Oh,
Isn't there some sort of time frame? I'm just now thinking out loud. So if electric cars are the point of the a happy hour presentation, it would be 15 minutes, because then there's question and answer. We would never ask somebody to make a 30-minute presentation, because we'd all be yawning by that. It's too long. But people have questions. But is the presentation she be giving is like how to get an electric car, but also how to
Yes.
charge it, where to charge it?
Well, it's mostly about
Doing to get electric plugs around town.
Go ahead. Dan, you had an answer?
I think it's about all of those things, but the main obstacles are cost and where to charge. So I think those are what she'll talk about
Right.
mostly.
Yeah.
Because, and I think I mentioned this, was it at last meeting? We have a tenant at a bungalow court apartment building, so there are no parking spots. They're parking on the street. And he would like to get an electric car, and we would be perfectly happy to help pay for the installation of the plug. But how does he guarantee that he can park in front of his plug? Meaning, is there any effort on the political side, citywide side, to have green or whatever color it would be curbs for electric cars? Meaning, parking so that you can reach your plug.
There are already street chargers, and
That's different.
And no, you're right that access to the plug is important, and access to a parking place but I know somebody who has a 50-foot cord. You can buy a 50-foot extension thing to get to plug in your car to a cord that's not exactly right next door. The problem is, I mean, it's not a problem, but you just want to make sure that you don't leave it overnight.
Well, no, Elizabeth, here's the point, because you know which bungalow court I'm talking about. What if they have to park in front of your house and not in front of their plug? So why can't there be, just like there's blue handicap spaces, green?
Okay.
I mean,
it's a good, right, but you're going 5 years infrastructure ahead. I mean, talking to the city of LA about designating some curbs to be electric car charging only is fine. Especially, I mean, you do one and then a Tesla comes up and parks in the same space, or somebody else gets an electric car. So we're not going to solve those problems on Monday, May 6th, or Tuesday, May, whatever it is. We're not going to solve those problems at that date. And I really would resist getting derailed by problems. And all I would say is that she has a program, she has access to really cheap electric cars, to the very few people that have easy access right now to an electrical plug where they park. I mean, that's it. I mean, if there are 5 people in Jefferson Park with access to electric cars, a charger or a plug, then this information will be useful to them, right?
Okay.
And everything else we have to push forward.
So how much? That's fine. And how much? So if it's a truly focused presentation on literally on how to get an electric car inexpensively, doesn't that now take us back to a 10-minute environmental committee time slot? That's very focused, very narrow. And I don't have a problem with it. I'm just trying to figure out where to place it on the agenda.
But it's
so here's the problem with that. Lisa talks a lot. So,
as do I.
So I think that, the 15-minute happy hour thing might be better because it's not as constrained.
Okay.
And there's other things actually that I would like to talk about. If I had my druthers, I would simply put into people's consciousness that exhaust of idling cars and of yard equipment is very damaging to the air. And so so I would say that the transition to electric lawn equipment will both give us a higher quality of life because they're less loud, but also they're terribly polluting. They're extremely polluting. Dan.
That sounds like a great topic for a different presentation. I would
say that that's one of the topics the NCSA addresses. That's all I would say is that.
But probably not at this meeting. I think it should be focused on EVs this time. One topic per meeting, probably. Keep it simple.
I think I would give them a list of the different topics. This is up to Lisa, but I would say, NCSA covers a lot of stuff. They cover trees. They cover electrification of new housing. They cover solar panels or the ease of solar panels. Just to give people an overview, tonight, we'll be talking about an electric car for you and you and you.
That'd be fine. I mean, in other words, if we're introducing a government agency or entity, because they're not an agency, to our stakeholders and our board, and ideally our potential board members who have yet, other than Teresa, you are so great, but Ole, Teresa, and Dennis Lesky and Taylor 5. Of all the new people running for office, there are only 3 of them who've been coming to meetings, or frankly have signed up for our meeting notices. So hopefully by then that will be resolved. So it's okay with me. I will tell you what I had before you brought this up, what I have been planning to try and do for the May meeting. And and this was before we had Capri end up talking about anti-Asian, anti-AAPI hate. Anyway, but it's May is Asian American Heritage Month. So I had been actually thinking about having more of a fun historical thing, but I don't have to do that because this is important too. And nor do I have such a presentation to prepare.
We could also say something about Earth Day, couldn't we?
Yeah. We've come up, we're a couple weeks past Earth Day, but every day should be Earth Day. That's a good intro. Every day should be Earth Day. Here's Lisa Hart from NCSA. Anyway.
Can I make a comment really quick?
Sure.
Just so I understand. Lisa is going to give a presentation, a slide presentation. She's going to talk for 5 minutes about what her organization does. And she's going to talk 10 minutes about electric cars, and then there's going to be 5 minutes of Q&A.
More or less. Because even though we say 6:30, it'll be 6:35, and we really have to dead stop at 7 and call the meeting to order and move on, because as you know, our meetings last a really long time.
Yes, I know that. I noticed. One thing I've noticed.
Yeah, a really long time. So yes.
So Teresa, did you have any other issues that you wanted that to be addressed regarding sustainability at the meeting?
No, I have nothing. I just wanted to kind of understand, like, we're having this big discussion about what we want from her, and I just want to make sure that when I participate and I listen, that we discussed it being 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and then if it goes off for half an hour, then I can see where we're having, some issues, because the meetings are very long, the agendas are long, and from what I've experienced, it seems really difficult to keep everybody on track. I will say that a couple of meetings where Jeff Camp participated, he was really good at moving the meetings forward, and it just made it a better experience.
Okay.
I just wanted to understand that if we were on the same, if I was on the page with you guys, that that's what the expectation would
And
be.
Right.
I'm on the same page with you about keeping momentum up, for sure.
Right. So Teresa, the thing about these first 30-minute presentations is we can't call the meeting to order before 7, but that's why I'm saying it has to be a dead stop at 7. This last one, we didn't have to stop it. We didn't dead stop it at 7 because we didn't have quorum when 7 p.m. hit.
I see.
You may not have, if you were there, you may not have noticed that, but Greg and Jeff and I were also tracking board members, and we did not have quorum until 7 minutes after 7.
Yeah, I remember when you said that, Laura, you said, oh, now we have quorum, so let's go ahead and
right.
begin the meeting.
Right. So even, even with the best intentions that, hey, we have a really interesting program, maybe all the board members will come on time, right? So we can really start at 7. Even then, we didn't. So anyway.
Okay. And this is great. Thank you, Dan, for putting down the things that will be virtual. That's unfortunate. Virtual Earth Day events, but maybe this is the last virtual Earth Day we'll have for a while.
Yeah. So let's see what's next. Butterfly friendly. I don't think we actually have any content for that.
Well, wait. Was it Earth Day is the next thing, and you're just posting?
Yes. Earth Day,
you want to
indeed.
post it since I've seen this, but Teresa hasn't. Can we post it into the chat somehow?
Well, I was following along with his screen, but okay.
Or you know what? Teresa's the only person here. Why don't I just give you Teresa's email when the meeting is over, and you can forward the same email to her?
Okay.
Would it be more convenient for me to put it in the chat right now?
Sure.
I'm happy to.
Here,
Oh, yes.
Teresa,
Thank
let me
you.
make you a co-host so that when you chat, you can just chat to everybody. Here you go. Now we're all officially co-hosts. So if you know how to chat, just chat, go click on the box and chat to everyone.
Okay.
Thank you. And by the way, are you, Teresa, a good parliamentarian? Because Jeff is not going to be parliamentarying our meetings or moderating all of our meetings. I got him in special for this last one because I knew we would need it.
That might be something I'm interested in the future, but until I get my feet wet and I
Oh, sure.
feel a little more comfortable, I think I just want to just follow along and see how things go.
That
Okay.
sounds great.
Okay.
I think I may have just sent that to you privately. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you
Okay.
did.
Okay.
You did, but I'll grab it and send it.
Let's see, what's the right way to do this? So I apologize for,
Yeah, I'm not sure what you are doing right now, actually. But are you retyping what the email?
I'm shortening it so it fits.
Okay, well, all right. For the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the main thing, Dan, I thought it was how to participate in Earth Day. I don't know if you got my final little email. Can we take this list and develop it quickly? And maybe Elizabeth, I know you don't want to volunteer for everything, but at the UNNC website, we're running news stories. So why don't we just make this into a little news story and put it on the web and give you and Elizabeth a byline? Things to do on Earth Day.
Yes,
virtually.
quite possibly.
Okay.
Ooh. So this is not an actual event. Okay.
No, so yeah, no, and then what I had sent back was just I was hoping that the Natural History Museum, which has reopened, would have suddenly put together an Earth Day, but they did not.
Right.
But I feel like you can still take your kids to the Natural History Museum and Expo Park on Earth Day or thereabouts and make your own Earth Day celebration because the Nature Garden's open, the Butterfly Pavilion is open. Anyway, but that's okay. Let's move on. That's
Okay, so the next agenda item is make your garden butterfly friendly, but I actually don't have anything to say about that.
all right.
I bought some seeds today that I'm going to plant tomorrow.
To do what? How
Butterfly
to-
seeds.
So what does one need to do? I mean, there's that one butterfly bush. What's it called?
Dudley, no, not Dudleya. Budleya.
What's its English?
Common name?
Are we talking about the actual milkweed plant?
That's the one.
That one.
Yeah. I think the native one for California or for Southern California is A. fascicularis. The one that everybody's been planting is the tropical one, which has orange flowers, which if you guys saw the article in the LA Times, there actually had two different articles. Yes, it has nectar for the butterflies and the caterpillars eat the leaves, but because it doesn't die back during the winter, it can get a parasite, which then affects the caterpillar and the butterfly. So the native plant, the native one actually dies back. So I think last time we talked, or the last time you guys had this meeting, Laura was talking to Darius. I think that's his name. I'm sorry.
Marius.
Marius, yes. And you had mentioned about seeds and maybe starting seedlings and donating them. And
Oh, right.
a great gardener, so I love that idea. So yes, I too have some seeds that I got from the Theodore Payne Foundation, and I start a lot of the things that I grow from seed. So I just wasn't sure when you talked about donating them or handing them out, what.
Wonderful. That's so great.
So here's what I think. What I was Okay, can we not be watching the minutes being typed up? It's actually, if you don't mind, Dan.
Unshare. There you
Thank
go.
you. Elizabeth, what I think I was thinking of is when, at some point UNNC and everybody else will be back in person, right? And we'll be able to have a table at an event that's a bigger event than us, and we'll be able to be doing our outreach the way we used to, right? And one of the things we did years ago at one of these outreach events is we handed out, they were little teeny pots. Renee Gunter really spearheaded this effort. We handed out little teeny potted plants, and they were, in that case, they were little succulents and drought resistant, but we've moved on to native. And I wonder if we can hand out little teeny, these monarch butterfly, I've already lost their names, milkweed, the right ones. And how do we do it? Because when I went online to look at like Theodore Payne and all the others, each plant seems to be between $10 and $18. And there's no way UNNC is handing those out as outreach.
I have a bunch of little pots.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to buy soil, and
but where do we get the little tiny plants, little seedlings?
You start the seeds.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You just have to start them. I don't know. I've never grown milkweed before, so I don't know how long it takes to germinate or how long it will take. But if, let's say we start, I can speak for myself. If I start them now, it's coming up on summer. Maybe they'll become 3 to 5 inches. I'm not sure how long they take to grow. And then they'll be in peat pots, and maybe we can move them up to a larger peat pot or into some, sustainable pot. And then we can hand them out maybe in the fall. Certainly not by Earth Day, but maybe,
that's wonderful. I'd love to be part of that project.
Right, and we can't, and let me be clear, we can't hand anything out to anybody until the emergency, Department of Neighborhood Empowerment has forbidden neighborhood councils be in person doing anything.
Okay.
Until the emergency is over.
Well, I was going to say, the Washington Square Farmers Market is a perfect place.
It's a perfect place when we can have a table, and we don't have to pay for the table. we can have a table and do some outreach there.
But is there another farmers market on Western and Adams?
Yeah, I mean, presumably we can do it there too, if only somebody has connections. My connections are at the one at Wellington Square.
So Teresa, if you start some plants, I'll start some plants too. I think I have some native seeds around here somewhere.
Right, so these can grow from seed? That's the big question.
Yes, that's what, I bought seeds from Theodore Payne. They wouldn't have, made the seeds available if you can't grow from seeds.
Right.
But I'm just wondering, so how many are we talking about? 50 or 100 or?
Well, the time we did that, we did 50 or 100. So, because it's also a matter of putting them into the little pots, and I'm trying to figure out what the cost of the little pots were. And I might add, we made stickers. So the cost is, so it's not a big cost, but it's an outreach project. And I think I also have to ask Lizzie if she's on board with it, because she's the outreach chair. I can't imagine her saying, no, I'm not. But I would love.
It's very easy for me to grow 100 of them. I mean, I have the trays, the little small peat pots. That's
awesome.
Okay.
That's no big deal. So. And so do we think that the emergency is going to be lifted by September?
I think it's going to be lifted by July 1, but I'm not positive.
Because
I mean, what I'm hearing is that the city really wants to get back into the in-person business by July 1. I don't know if that's reasonable, but that's what I'm hearing. Dan has his hand up, Elizabeth.
I think people like getting packets of seeds. So if we had some started already and then seed packets, we wouldn't need to have all that many starts.
Can you get the seed packets donated?
I don't know, where do people get them from before?
250 seeds in one packet.
Well, but what does a packet cost?
It costs $5, but there are 250 seeds in one packet. So
We could subdivide.
we're gonna need that. So we could separate them to 10 people, 10 seeds in a packet.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if we don't want to give out packets, we could give out seed bombs, which, so mixing a seed with some sand, it increases the, I think the growability.
Viability, but I don't know that process very well, Elizabeth. With the sand, what is that?
So here's just my take on this. What we need to know, but anyone who has a seed packet could probably read the backside and finds it out. When do the seeds get planted? When do they sprout? And I mean, in other words, if seeds have to be planted no later than, I'm making up a date, May 15, we will not be able to hand out seed packets. We would have to be handing out seedlings because we're not handing things out now. And so, but this would be an outreach effort that is also good for butterflies. But, you know what I mean? And I think it'd be fun. So I don't want to make it not fun by having too long of a discussion now. So I would like to say I'm going to push, also talk to Lizzie, not Elizabeth, Mori Masato, and say we're talking about doing this outreach effort becoming in effect from the environmental committee as a starter, but it would involve, in order on a handing out basis, we'd have to figure out, can we have a table at a farmer's market, which makes the most sense. And probably not until July or even August. But, you know, in others, we have to find out when we can do it as a neighborhood council. And I will need to check with Dunn to see if we're still forbidden to be at a table at a farmer's market, since the farmer's markets have never even closed. So it may be that we could do it sooner rather than later. You know, maybe that's no longer forbidden. I don't know. Okay.
I love where that agenda point went. Wow. Dan, you didn't have anything to say about butterfly gardens, and yet
Here we
have
are.
a project
And yes,
going. Yeah.
it was a popular topic.
Thanks,
Well,
Teresa.
I was just glad to hear that the brand of bush, you know, the brand of plant that is right is pink and white and not tropical, because, you know, I like pink and white flowers in my garden.
And
So-
actually, Teresa, I'm really glad you mentioned that they died back, because I have some narrow leaf milkweed that I was really, really sad about, and I didn't know why it came back.
Yeah, this is just an article that I didn't know about that either, but when I read about it in the LA Times, that's what makes it, you know, work for our climate and everything, is because it does die back. So all the parasites will die back too. And the renewal that happens in spring is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yay. Great. All right. Further on, I think we're going to end on time tonight.
Does anybody have any other things to announce or suggest before we move on to adjournment?
Well, just actually, do we know, for those of us who don't grow things from seed, do we know where to buy the plants that nearby, if any place nearby sells them? Like, has anyone checked out the CNS? Are they still open?
I don't know, but I know this past Saturday in the LA Times, they did have a list of,
No.
I can find the link and send it to you.
yeah.
But they had a list of all the local nurseries that have the narrow leaf milkweed.
Sweet.
That'd be cool. Thank you so much, Teresa.
Okay.
I know, Elizabeth, now, are you vaccinated yet? Wait, Elizabeth.
First dose. First dose I
Okay.
got. Yeah.
Okay, because we could do a pilgrimage to CNS, but we can be in separate cars.
What is CNS?
Oh, it's by Village Green. It's a huge nursery. I just don't know
Oh, thank you,
how
Dan.
they've done in COVID. I mean, in other words, all the places that I used to go, I haven't been around for so long. It's like, are they alive? Are they coming back? Did they survive as entities? And I just don't know.
All right. Well, perhaps
Thank you,
we
Dan,
should
for that
adjourn.
article.
It's very productive.
Right. So
So-
everybody knows how to save the chat, right?
Yes.
So, or Teresa, do you know how to do it?
Yes, I see it here. Yes,
Yeah, no, do you know how to save the chat to your computer?
yes. I
Cool,
know how to do it.
perfect. Yeah, we've
Okay.
had a year of Zoom. I think everybody's getting good at it.
And I'm looking forward to leaving it behind for a while.
Yeah.
Well, you know something? I'm looking forward to leaving it behind for governing board. Because among other things, I think we will go faster. But I feel that it's a thing. Well, I feel that I wish I had known about it before the pandemic because it would have been a good thing to invest in. I think people who invested are making money, but I feel it is really actually a good way to hold some of these committee meetings. I mean, it's a really good way to do presentations. We had a great presentation last night on ADUs, and to be able to follow through and have everyone was able to see the presentation really easily.
True.
So anyway, we digress, as I often do.
Okay, well, Elizabeth, should we jointly declare the meeting adjourned?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, done. You don't need to second that motion.
No.
Thanks, everybody. And
Thank you
Laura,
very
I
much.
guess we'll
Thanks, Teresa.
be in touch via
Yeah,
email.
yeah, Dan, if you or Elizabeth downloaded that thing.
I've got it.
I'm sorry, I just didn't. If you'll send it over to me, that'd be useful.
Will do.
Okay.
Okay, good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Teresa. Bye, Elizabeth.
Bye. Bye, Laura.
Dan's already gone. So wait, so you've had your, which one did you get? Moderna,
Pfizer.
Pfizer.
It
And
hurt. I was hurting the next day. I was achy and sore and feverish and yucky. So I'm
So
gonna.
that means you may have had a little bout with COVID previously, because
Ah.
I will tell you, I was so sick after my second dose.
And that also means that you might have had a small case
That's
of it.
exactly right. That's right. But
So
I would not be surprised if a year ago in March that I did. I mean, in other words, I'd be surprised if I wasn't exposed, because
Yeah.
that week before everything shut down, I was at one community meeting after another, after another, after another in small rooms. And well, first the board meeting on March 5th of a year ago. And then I was in City Hall the very day City Hall was shut down. In the elevators, in the staircases, people
All that.
around.
Now we know so much more about aerosols. Yeah.
Yeah, and
But the
And-
fact that if they had been able to check our antibodies, then we might not have needed the vaccine.
no, because they don't think it lasts that long. And yeah, so
Okay. And this
no,
isn't.
I mean, we have to have the vaccine. I mean, in other words,
All right.
to have had a mild exposure, which is, not really the same thing as being not being intubated.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I mean, nobody knows really. Nobody knows.
No, and this new variant. Nobody knows about the variant either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here. That's why I'm saying I don't really know if it's going to be, if the city